Hello, listeners. This is Soumitra Das, and you're listening to CHRO Mindset podcast.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the season 3 of the CHRO Mindset podcast. After an amazing first 2 seasons, we are returning with even more engaging discussions and practical takeaways. Today, we have a very interesting topic that we're going to cover as part of this podcast: culture as risk insurance, what CEOs expect, and what CHROs must deliver. And I am extremely delighted to welcome Mr. Soumitra Das to today's episode as the guest. With over 35 years of HR leadership experience across manufacturing, tech, healthcare, logistics, and GCCs, Soumitra Das has shaped the people agenda for some of the world's most complex matrix organizations. As the global ex-CHRO of Redington Group, he led HR strategy across 28 countries and multiple subsidiaries, aligning culture, productivity, and shareholder values with the group's business goals. A data driven and ethics led HR leader, Soumitra is known for transforming culture into a measurable competitive advantage. His expertise spans M&A integration, org design, digital transformation, and leadership development, all grounded in the belief that ethics and culture are the hardest shields against business risk. And in his current position, he is serving as the founder of HRM Practitioners. HRM Practitioners empowers SMEs and startups to achieve scalable, sustainable growth through integrated HR and leadership solutions. They address employee risks, leadership excellence, and culture transformation with strategic HR consulting and employee risk advisory. Their proprietary digital disclose without fear (DWF) platform enhances transparency and trust, and it is backed by over 150 plus years of combined global C-suite experience that delivers practical real-world solutions tailored to each organization needs. Further, Soumitra has been recognized amongst the 51 most innovative HR tech leaders by the Asia Pacific HRM Congress, and is also the recipient of India's greatest CHRO award. Soumitra continues to champion human-centered innovation at the intersection of HR, tech, and leadership. An alumnus of the famous XLRI in the HR domain, a certified ICF coach, and an avid music lover, he embodies the blend of strategic foresight and empathy that defines the future of HR. Soumitra sir, we are so thrilled to have you. Welcome to the CHRO Mindset podcast.
Thank you, Pulkit. Thank you for having me on this podcast. Let's go ahead.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll just walk the audience through what we're going to cover today, right? So in today's episode, we'll step into the boardrooms where culture decides whether companies survive scrutiny or crumble under it. We will explore why ethics and behavior aren't soft topics but hardest shields for long-term resilience. We'll also uncover what truly separates organizations that hold steady in crisis from those that collapse overnight, and why CHROs must turn culture from belief into data-backed action. From detecting red flags early to using analytics to predict risk before it hits, we will decode how trust leadership and systems safeguard the enterprise. Because when every control fails, it's not the policies that save a company, it's the culture people choose to live by. So with that, I'll start off with my icebreaker question for you, Soumitra sir. If culture is an insurance policy, what is the biggest premium you have seen organizations pay for neglecting it?
Okay. Good question. I think, but let me step back a little bit and talk a little bit about culture
Sure,
as a concept.
sure.
Okay. Most organizations say that people are our greatest assets, and they're not wrong.
Hmm.
They have purpose, structure, technology, capital, but it's the individuals who come first in the workforce and bring in their knowledge, skills, values, attitudes, behaviors, which compositely create what we call organization culture.
Hmm.
It's like the personality of the organization.
Hmm.
And, it is about how people, starting from leaders to new joinees, etc., how they, get into the organization and how they kind of embody the values and spirits which talk about how things are getting done every day.
Hmm.
Okay, culture is the underlining DNA of an organization. It makes employees feel connected, invested in their jobs, and all that. Okay, it's also the set of unwritten rules by which which guide the shared beliefs and guide people's behavior beyond policies, rules, and regulations. Okay, so it's not a soft concept. It's the hardest shield an organization has, as you mentioned, against fraud, failure, and reputational losses. A dysfunctional, organization, and we have seen a lot of them can break down if they have a dysfunctional culture.
Hmm.
Okay, So your first question is about why, what is the insurance policy and what is the biggest premium? I think we have seen in the last few days, companies like Enron, Jet Airways, Byju's, okay, and the collapse has not been because of the lack of strategy or capital. It was a collapse of culture and ethics. The most important premium that organizations pay when culture is broken is the five-letter word called trust.
Mm.
One breach of ethics, one ignored whistleblower, one toxic leader, and everything evaporates overnight. Okay, and you've seen the case of Wells Fargo, Volkswagen. It's not the cost per se. Okay, it's the irreversible loss of stakeholder trust.
Mm.
Customers stop buying.
Yeah.
Okay, top talent leaves, new top talent doesn't join, regulators impose crushing oversight and fees. Okay, culture cracks and it feels almost like a big earthquake.
Mm.
It's like culture negligence is like skipping insurance premiums. Okay, when everything goes good, like health insurance or life insurance, you say, why do I need
Mm.
why do I need to pay those premiums?
Mm.
But when things go wrong, you suddenly realize that you wish you had paid those premiums. Okay, so I will just say that we have watched, both you and I, in the Indian context, have watched companies lose millions because they chose to ignore culture. And there's a price leaders pay for not giving critical attention to building an effective culture founded on trust, integrity, diversity. The lesson, therefore, I will just say that, organizations need to invest in trust. And Stephen Covey talks about the emotional bank account, where he talks about the principle of trust as a valuable currency in relationships, including leaders. I also say that we want to make deposits and withdrawals into the organization culture. Deposits are action that build trust, where withdrawals are action that erode trust. So the biggest thing that we are talking about as an insurance for an organization is its effective and ethical culture.
Awesome. Some awesome pearls of wisdom there for sure. Now let's get into the core theme, right? And let's now, and I think you did mention it, right? So my first question is, why do you call culture and ethics the hardest shields against risk and not the softest side of HR?
Okay, a lot of people, I talk to have always compared culture to the operating system of an organization. Like it's a core,
Yeah.
like a core of a server or laptop, whatever. It is what, if that breaks down, nothing else works.
Hmm.
Okay, compliance is a set of rules.
Hmm.
Okay, but compliance is the unwritten code that determines if an employee will follow those rules when nobody is looking at him or her,
Hmm.
or whether he or she will circumvent those rules for his or her benefit. Okay, the culture shield is very difficult to make. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to build, measure, and maintain, and then it becomes the hardest shield because in times of crisis or in times of trouble, what holds our organization together is not strategy decks, but the moral compass of the organization, which is defined by the culture. Okay,
Hmm.
culture is what people. Culture is what when people fall back when they are into an ambiguous situation.
Hmm.
They don't know what they to do.
Hmm.
Rules are not well defined. So then they follow their heart and say, "This is the right thing to do."
Hmm.
And therefore we have always know that in culture we are talking about the fact that wrong is wrong if everybody is doing it. Okay, right is right if you're the only one doing it. I
Hmm.
think that is what we say is therefore the hardest shield
Hmm.
that the organizations can build up. Okay, so they weaponize the human vigilance, which we are now looking at. I mean, the world's, if I was reading yesterday, the world's biggest global misconduct, kind of prices that we pay is close to about 20 to 25 billion dollars USD. Okay,
Hmm.
neglect them, and your soft side or the HR part becomes your Achilles heel. Culture is not therefore a soft part of HR. It's a hard shield against organization risk, And when ethics fail, companies don't lose money; they lose long-term trust, reliability, even existence. Forward-thinking CEOs, therefore, see culture as a risk insurance, and CHROs must deliver this through measurable integrity systems, predictive analytics, uh, audits, leadership modeling that make ethical behavior the default and not the exception.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, awesome. Now let's talk it from an M&A perspective, right? When M&As happen, there might be some crisis, or otherwise also, right? If one organization is going through a crisis-based scenario, according to you, what separates companies that withstand scrutiny from those that collapse?
I think it's the integrity factor in the cultural DNA of the organization.
Okay.
Okay. These days, the first thing that people actually evaluate in terms of the due diligence, okay, and I've been part of some of them, is the cultural compatibility.
Hmm.
And when they talk about culture compatibility, there are two things that they look at. What is the level of trust in the organization, and how important is ethics within the framework of culture in that organization?
Hmm.
Okay. There are so many research by McKinsey, PwC, etc., which show that majority of M&F failures stem from cultural misalignment,
Hmm.
not strategy flaws. And you've heard that story, I don't know, it is said to be said by Peter Drucker that culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Hmm.
Okay. So companies that integrate ethics and transparency into their decision making, their everyday structures, the leadership DNA, they can absorb shocks better, maintain morale, and have larger market value post the deal. Okay. And therefore, companies, as I said before, they don't do the financial due diligence, etc., unless they are they are clear that the culture is compatible. Okay. I just kind of want to conclude that great organizations use stress as a culture diagnostic.
Hmm.
Okay, watch how people behave when the playbook burns. All right, in M&A there are always playbooks, transformation playbooks, integration playbooks, etc., etc. But I have been through five or six M&As. All those playbooks go out of the window because it's actually people integrating with people. And when people integrate with people, the biggest thing is about trust. Okay. What is the organization's muscle memory in terms of trust and integrity? You can merge bands overnight, but merging beliefs take a lot of intention and take a lot of work to be done.
Hmm. Hmm. Understood. Uh, Now, while all of this makes a lot of sense, uh, but we often hear CHROs and HR professionals talk about their struggles to explain this to the board side. So, from your vantage point, how do you convince boards and CEOs that investing in culture is as strategic as investing in technology or a product that they're selling?
Yeah, I think you're right. As a CHRO, global CHRO, I've often stood in front of the board trying to explain our investment into a culture that supports trust, integrity, collaboration, ethics, performance, etc. And I think I've always maintained that your culture is your non-replicable competitive advantage. Okay.
Hmm.
A culture which is rife with internal politics, fear of speaking up, etc., is a lack of collaboration is a road to a slow and dusty death.
Hmm.
Okay. So the answer to this question that boards often have, what is the ROI of culture?
Hmm.
Okay, and I've faced it, other CEOs and CHROs have faced it, is the risk prevention and performance acceleration. Okay. The risk that employees bring or insider risks, okay, can bring a company to its knees. Culture directly impacts valuation, brand equity, even access to capital. And therefore, it's a hedge for all the good things that you're doing that should not come down because the culture is allows a lot of ethics violation or it allows the breakup of business conduct guidelines. Okay, So there is this company called Edelman, and they have this trust barometer. Okay, so they said that strong cultures add exponentially to your revenue and reputation, strong value proposition, lesser attrition, etc. And they say that 78% of investors now consider an organization, culture, and governance track record as the critical investment criteria. Okay, so therefore, to summarize, if technology, a lot of people today are talking about digital technology, getting competitive advantage through investment in automation and all that. So I say that if technology powers your business, culture protects its license to operate.
Mm.
Okay, and therefore again I repeat, if culture is your operating system, okay, it is, everything else will crash, all your technology capital, everything is going to crash if culture crashes overnight.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, so I think,
That's how
yeah.
that's how we ensured that boards and CEOs give enough attention to investing in the right kind of culture, because without people doing the right things, everything else doesn't matter at all.
Mm. Mm. Very well said, sir. Now, AI is making headlines, right? And analytics has been around for quite a good amount of time. So, walk us through what role does AI and analytics play in detecting cultural risk before it becomes a headline issue, or is it too soon to really, talk about all these things, marrying AI with culture and all that?
No, I think AI does a lot of work, like any other function in which AI brings in disparate, data from different sources,
Mm.
okay, and kind of synthesizes them, right? In HR also, I've been telling my people, data per se is worthless unless you give it a meaning.
Mm.
Okay, you can collect data from all over the place, but unless you're able to analyze it and give it a meaning and use it for business impact, it's all worthless. So AI, I think, helps us do that.
Mm.
Get data from disparate sources. Okay, you can get data on hiring, you can get data on comp and benefit, you can get data on talent management, you can data on performance, productivity, employee experiences, etc. And there is where you build in, use this data to build in a predictive early warning system for your culture health. Okay, so it helps us go beyond the lagging indicators like exit interviews or anonymous surveys or mouthshut.com or other, places where people can go and give in their feedback. Okay, so we make sure that we plug in AI at all the places where employees are generating data. Okay, but say for example, by analyzing employee sentiments, culture audits, employee experience data, engagement data, whistleblower data. Okay, data from people outside of the organization, like for example, candidate satisfaction surveys of people who have not been selected. Okay, so that when paired with human judgment, like I said, helps CHRO predict, CHROs and HR business partners predict where employee risk might emerge. Okay, much before it escalates and creates either a problem to the organization in terms of revenue or reputation, or deflects outside to become a scandal.
Mm.
Okay, so today therefore I tell my people that HR business partners, you need to be an algorithmic leader. Okay, with a great empathetic approach to managing people.
Mm.
You need to have both these things. Otherwise, you will not be able to find out where, how do you use the data to get the details, okay, where the culture cracks are happening, okay. And but AI is not it's not a medic.
Mm.
Okay, still you have to fix those, and those fixes has to be by people, by leaders, by HR. Okay, and there's of course a word of caution that you have to use AI ethically. I know of organizations which are using AI to build personas of people. Okay, so for example, you're doing getting to a Zoom meeting, and there is one person who's coming in late, say 4 or 5 times in a, so you've created a persona, right? Is that right? So So digital exhaust of people are being captured, analyzed, and creating persona, which I think, according to me, is an unethical thing to do.
Mm.
Okay, so AI can be a friend in culture building because they can tell you where the culture cracks are happening. Okay, they can help you therefore predict attrition. They can help you predict employee risk. They can help you predict revenue losses in terms of lost performances. They can predict redundancies, structures, etc. So it's quite a good thing, but it has to be used responsibly. And as I said, AI HR guys should know what the output of AI should be to help them build culture in an organization.
Very well said. Thanks for sharing all those insights. Now, sir, you spoke of, the lagging and the leading indicators, but there must be some red flags, right? That tells one that the culture is fragile and is likely to fail under stress. Would love to know what are those red flags.
I think the most important one is silence.
Mm.
Okay, when people stop questioning and stop bringing uncomfortable truths to light, and it is about I scratch your back, you scratch my back. Okay, meetings are all about smiles. Okay, nobody asks uncomfortable questions. When you start seeing high turnover getting normalized, people say, "Oh no, this is part of it." I was talking to one CEO of a company, of a government company, which is seeing a turnover of close to about 60%, and his people have told him, oh, that's normal because in carbon company there are people coming, going, and all that. Can you imagine a 60% attrition? They're replacing the organization almost every 6 to 8 months.
Mm.
All right. So when turnover is getting normalized, overwork,
Mm.
okay, or lack of work-life balance is worn like a badge. Oh, I've been working on weekends, etc., etc. Okay, when the same guys are getting rewarded and awarded and accoladed all the times, okay, there is stress at work. Okay, problems get swept under the rug, excessive bureaucracy, cover my back mentality. Okay, decision bottlenecks. Check. I mean, I can go on. These are red flags that risk has moved into the system, from the system into the soul of the organization. And when it is in the soul of the organization, all that you are doing is creating an organization of toxicity in leaders. Okay, a fragile culture is, when you talk about red flags, a fragile culture is when people are talking more in the hallways or in the canteen, less in meeting rooms, less while town halls take place. Okay, there is so much of things happening in social media, anonymous messages, etc. But official channels say, no, 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 I have not received any incident report, I have not received any complaint, grievance, or ethics violation report. So fragile culture or red flags, we must see, they do not scream out, they are the silent operators. Okay, and that's because people are fearful of speaking up due to the fear of retaliation and victimization. People are fearful of speaking up because in today's fragile economy, they are scared of losing their job. People are scared of speaking up and reporting things, and and are ready to endure a toxic dysfunctional career because they have no choice.
Mm.
Okay, so I think these are things that really need to be addressed by the CXO community and the HR people.
Mm. Wonderful. Uh, Now let's keep going. And I wanted to understand from you, because at one point you spoke of people not being able to speak up, right? So to sort of make that happen, how can HR leaders design processes that encourage them to speak up without the fear of retaliation or losing a job or whatever?
So there are two parts to it.
Sure.
The first part is the culture building.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. And I've said a lot of it, but
Yeah.
here just want to say that HR has a big responsibility to create transformation leaders who are walking the talk. Leaders who are courageous to accept their failures. Leaders who go beyond their brief to reward and award innovation, and take negative feedback. Okay, so the one part is the culture of leadership, the culture of CXOs, the culture of the organization. The other part is the process part of it. Okay, and initially, smaller organizations, leadership modeling can help speak up, etc. But as the organization gets bigger, you need processes.
Yeah.
Okay, so from just creating psychological safety as a process, okay, we create those structures which bring in psychological safety and bringing the culture of speaking up. So how do we do it? First, we create a direction where our culture is going to be, and we by building guardrails that define acceptable and non-acceptable behavior, what you and I call business conduct guidelines. Okay, so first everybody know that this is how we should be behaving in this organization. This is acceptable, this is not. The second part is establishing a vigil mechanism or whistleblowing policy. The vigil mechanism, which is again mandated by law in most cases, says that okay, I'll have oversight into what employees are doing in terms of misconducts or things that are breaking the business conduct guidelines. Okay, then creating a multiple channel of whistleblowing or the ability of an employee to report a misconduct or an ethics violation. Okay, typically, in large banks, etc., they have a email policy, they have an ombudsman and all that, but there is still fear amongst employees because they are internal systems. My email, if I write to Pulkit about some wrongdoing of my manager, I can get victimized or I can get retaliated again, even though everybody in the organization says that no, 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 there is no retaliation. Okay, let's understand the bare facts, right? Similarly, an ombudsman is a chosen person within the bank or whatever or organization and all that, and I'm not very sure whether that guy is going to protect my anonymity and all that. So what we recommend, and that's what my company, the HRM practitioners, do, okay, as part of the employee risk advisory, is provide a secure digital whistleblowing platform. It is called Disclose Without Fear, which allows employees to anonymously and confidentially report misconducts and other ethics violations that are sent back to the company for resolution. Okay. So we go and embed our URL over there. The employee quickly comes, it clicks on the URL, okay, and anonymously, the IP is scrambled. Nobody, even if the company does a forensic, they will not be able to know that Pulkit has logged into this portal. Come in, they fill in all the details and they go out, and the report is then sent to the organization for resolution. Okay, so a secure, confidential, and anonymous conduit for employees to log in their complaints or whistleblowing reports without fear of retaliation and victimization. The next part is that HR needs to collect those, okay? And they should be able to analyze it, whether in regular meetings, periodic meetings, okay? And ensure that some action is taken, even if they can't share the outcome for privacy reasons, okay? Employees should see the intent, the real intent of actually working or the organization working on their speak up reports, okay? And then the last one is zero tolerance for retaliation. This must be communicated as a disciplinary policy, which can even lead to termination by anybody who is retaliating against a whistleblower. Okay, I think some of these things, in short, are the ones that should be done by organizations if they really want to have a culture of transparency and objectivity. And we, as part of HRM practitioners, we do an entire gamut of employee risk advisory services, which not only puts the DWF or a Disclose Without Fear platform in the middle, but we do a lot of training, we do a lot of consulting along the line to help make the organization a much more safer place.
Understood. Awesome. We have then my next question is around something that we have discussed partially, but I would love to get into the basics again. Do you think CEOs underestimate the long-term cost of cultural lapses? If yes, how should CHROs reframe that cost?
Okay. Well, frankly speaking, most of them do.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so uh, so cultural lapses, and I've seen people, putting the blame, change the blame game from here to there, and ultimately it comes and rests with HR saying that you guys did not do this, you guys could not do all this thing. I don't think these are HR issues. These are fundamentally balance sheet issues. Okay. At the end of the day, what are you losing? If the cultural lapses are there, you're losing revenue, you're losing reputation. Okay, both of them result in loss of different stakeholders, loss of reputation, loss of retention, people, all these kind of things, which damage the stakeholder confidence and leadership credibility. In some cases, of course, if they underestimate this cultural lapses, it can lead to even existential issues like Byju's, okay, Enron. There was some ILFS and all this kind of stuff. So, cultural, and therefore we are saying that ethical failures translate into a lot of things which actually translate into physical loss of revenue, talent exit, performance productivity losses, legal costs, brand erosion, regulatory penalties, lost market capitalization. Okay, so these are the current direct costs. Okay, there are other indirect costs, reputation loss. Okay, there are damage costs. People have to pay damages for that. Okay, so therefore, uh, even one mistake can lead to years of retribution.
Mm.
So that culture damage works like deferred debts. It just keeps on compounding.
Mm.
All right. Because at the end of the day, investors don't just read your numbers, they see your integrity curve also. So when you talk about, underestimating the long, long-term cost of cultural lapses, I think we should, as CHROs, reframe them at two things. At the end of the day, revenue and the long-term cost of recovering from that cultural lapse
Mm.
in terms of reputation, stakeholder, acceptance, etc.
Mm. Interesting. Awesome. So, Soumitra sir, if I had to pick one lever from these three, leadership modeling, policy design, or employee empowerment, which, according to you, shields culture the most?
Okay, the three important things definitely, but I think leadership modeling is the most important one.
Okay.
Okay, uh, cu- culture actually cascades from the top of the organization,
Mm.
not from posters, policies, etc. Okay,
Mm.
um, policies are important because, as I said, they give the guardrails within which acceptable behaviors or non-acceptable behaviors are defined. Okay, employee empowerment is important because it defines how the organization views its human capital. But culture doesn't live in policy manuals. It lives in the daily behavior of the leaders. I've said earlier also, how do leaders walk the talk? Okay, policies are just on word paper, and empowerment is meaningless if leaders don't embody the values 24 bar 7. They do not tell the organization that this is how things are done here. Okay,
Mm.
so people say, for example, somebody might say, a CEO might say that, okay, work life balance, but he regularly sends out email at 10 p.m. in the night and expects people to reply to it before he wakes up in the morning.
Mm.
Okay, he should be the last person talking about a culture in which employee is look, work life balance is. Then there is I always give this example to people when I'm doing an ethics class or ethics workshop. I said, you are sitting at home and you're teaching your son, always tell the truth, never lies, and the bell rings
Mm.
and the landlord has come to collect the rent, and you tell your son, go and tell him Papa is not at home.
Mm.
Okay? This is what I'm talking about when I say leadership.
Mm.
Okay? You preach.
Mm.
Okay? And therefore, you do what you preach, you walk the talk. I remember in workplace Satya Nadella said, "Culture is everything. When the world changes around you, it determines whether you survive or become irrelevant." Okay, and there is where leadership modeling is the ultimate shield because it proves to every single employee that the stated values are the rules of the game, not just slogans or policies or what you say in town halls or in leadership meets.
Hmm. Very true. Uh, Now let's get into a rapid fire section, Soumitra. Uh, if we would want short answers, but if you want to elaborate, absolutely fine to do that. So my first
Okay.
rapid fire question, number one, compliance or culture? If you can only choose one, which one is stronger?
Culture.
Okay. Is trust?
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead, please.
So compliance enforces.
Okay.
All right. Culture inspires.
Hmm.
Compliance follows trust, not the other way around. So unless you have a culture of compliance, okay, compliance is just a lost story.
Okay. Okay. Uh, is trust earned by HR or by leadership?
By leadership. HR is just a facilitator.
Hmm.
Okay. HR creates the conditions where you embody trust and you kind of create that level of trust where you within the team and within the larger team, and it's fundamentally a transaction between an employee and the direct leader,
Hmm.
okay, or the team,
Hmm.
and ultimately also the CEO. Okay, HR can facilitate, advise, repair, but HR doesn't own the trust.
Hmm.
Okay, HR creates the conditions that can help the leader create the trust
Hmm.
within his team.
Hmm. Understood. Uh, what's riskier, ignoring culture or over engineering it?
Ignoring it. Okay, over engineering may take some time. Okay, and I would rather err on the side of over engineering culture rather than ignoring it, because ignorance will sink you. Over engineering will take some time. It will create a strong culture, but it will last you a lifetime and give you its return exponentially.
Hmm. Hmm. Understood. A book or resource you would recommend on ethics and trust?
I would definitely recommend this book by Stephen M. R. Covey, which is called The Speed of Trust, and that explores the importance of trust in leadership and its impact on business success. It's a like, for example, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People is a must-read book for every leader. Okay, this is also a must-read book for every leader and HR leader.
Okay. Okay. In one word, you have to fill in the blank. Culture is
Non-negotiable.
okay. Awesome. This brings me to my two set of closing questions for you. If tomorrow's CEO asked you, why should I bet on culture as my insurance policy? What would your one line answer be?
One line is difficult, but I will compare it to his subscribing to a health insurance or a life insurance.
Okay.
Why does he do it? Why does he invest on it on a yearly basis, knowing very well that he doesn't plan to get ill or he doesn't want to die quickly? But you go on doing it because when there is a times of trouble, these are policy. The insurance is something that stands beside him. Okay, and this is where the organization culture also it pays out when crises hit the organization. All everything else then rotates or is pivotal around the culture.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Wonderful. My last question for you. If you had to leave one culture commandment for the next generation of HR leaders, what would it be?
I think I will say that treat culture with a lot of importance, not as an ornament, but as an armor.
Hmm.
Okay, I've heard a lot of youngsters say, "Oh, culture building, comes if we do some things in the HR functions." But I think it's important that you build culture with intention.
Hmm.
It is not by with the default. Okay, culture is the only solid protection that organizations have in today's dynamic and volatile business environment.
Hmm.
I think it's important for everybody to understand that culture is one that will help create profitable growth and sustainability in organizations.
Awesome. So I think we'll close with that. Culture is not an ornament, it's an armor, right? That's how companies should look at it. But it's been an amazing conversation. I must say, this was an awesome masterclass on how to use culture as the risk insurance. A lot of stories and narratives that you had to share with us came from real world problems that you have solved for organizations, both in your capacity as the CHRO and as the founder of HRM consultants. Even I had a lot of learnings for me. Although I think at a macro level, we all agree that culture is extremely important, but many a times it gets ignored by the board or the leadership for a variety of reasons. I think this was an eye opener for them also. This masterclass, this episode, and I'm sure that it's going to help a lot of people out there who are banking on culture as their irreplaceable, competitive strategic advantage. So with that,
Correct.
I would like to thank you again, Soumitra sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule and speaking to us.
Thank you, Pulkit. It's been a privilege to be on this platform with you, speaking to the listeners of HR1. Okay, and my last message to them is that build culture that is strong, and it's going to be your strongest ally for the entire CXO community.
Awesome, awesome. Uh, m-
Thank.
m- thank you, Soumitra sir. One last question before we wrap up. In case anybody wants to reach out to you or they need any help, any advisory, how can they reach out to you?
They can number one, two ways. They can get in touch with you, and you can give them my coordinates.
Absolutely.
Okay, or they can reach to me at Soumitra at thrmp.com.
Okay.
That is SOUMITRA at the rate thrmp.com.
Awesome. So everyone out there, I am sure you have taken note of the coordinates. Don't miss out on this
Yes, and
opportunity.
also Pulkit, I am on LinkedIn, Soumitra.das, so they can check me out on LinkedIn and connect with me through LinkedIn also. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks again. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode of the CHRO Mindset podcast. We hope you found today's conversation insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review if you enjoyed the episode. Until our next episode, see you again, and thank you.